Good morning, everybody. Oops, I've already hit the wrong button. Oh, okay. Let's take a look here. We've got the ES up, and just get some 42s important. Let me point out a couple things here about this market structure. So notice how on the ES especially, we're having this, we're gravitating up towards levels. Let me actually just put that one down there. Okay, so taking a look at the daily, we are already seeing a little bit of a pullback coming in here, and it's the run up wasn't significant. This is daily ES, by the way. That line's kind of crooked. Oops. Sorry. Need to figure out how to fix that. That's supposed to be like a magnifying glass kind of thing, but it's all gooped up for some reason. Okay, so we can see. Let's get rid of this stuff. We can see that the the ES came way down here and broke this pivot. I was watching this pivot yesterday, and it broke a little bit below that. Came a little bit closer to this gap fill. Well, it didn't quite gap fill, but it came closer to this gap. Let's get a little bit closer here. Actually, it came right to it. Price action stayed respectively there. So it's it's a little bit hard to say. The price action seems to be holding 44 and 35. So we'll probably be looking for, let's call, well, it's possible we could get a gap fill, but we'll be looking for bounces in, bounce in this area here, potentially. Bounce, oh, caps lock is on, that's great. And in the shorter term, 44.50 would be a bit more ideal because of price action, but because of these topping tails, let's actually, missed a spot. Let's actually go ahead and zone this out a little bit, because now we have, that's a little bit high. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I don't know why I would need colors with an eraser, but hey. But heck. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. There we go. About there. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why I would need colors. Anyway, not important. I don't know why I keep saying that. So we're kind of in this pseudo range, if you will. So we need to be cognizant that while we've attempted to move up and we've kind of put in some highs up here, pardon their children, and if you can't hear them laughing and screaming and whatnot, then that's impressive. It's very distracting. But basically we know we have sellers up in this area here, and we have buyers down here. I mean, I don't know what more we really need to look at. I don't want to overcomplicate this. Let's get a little bit lower here. Okay, so when we look at the 1 hour time frame, this downtrend becomes a lot more apparent. And let's clear all that. So you can see that we've, especially the last week, we've had a pretty aggressive downturn. Now, we had this low here, right? And then we've put in some higher lows. But notice how well, first of all, yesterday we failed to go higher, and that's significant because that gives us a clue that we might not be able to sustain this short-term uptrend. So this failure to go higher here suggests to us that whatever buyers were present to drive this up, they might be losing some steam. We can see the rejection over there, and when you have a line like this and a line like this, you get an idea that this higher low and then this higher high, it's kind of like what we were talking about yesterday in the post market. When you have higher highs and higher lows, if you end up with an equal high that was adjacent to what used to be a lower low, that's not my favorite. I would prefer to see this higher high get above, come from here, get above this, and put in a higher low above this pivot here. That didn't happen, so in a sense this basically just becomes an equal high. So we have this pullback, and this is where we are now. So let's clear that, and let's get a little bit closer. If I could switch the tool off, there we go. Okay. So even within yesterday's trading, we had quite a few pauses and ranges. This is not yesterday, this is yesterday. Is this yesterday? Yeah, okay. Lots of ranging. And so what we need to be taking a look at here for today is we need to be cognizant that we had sellers here, and it looks like we broke through those sellers in the pre-market. Oops. So I don't know, it's possible that we get some sort of an attempt higher, but we've got to keep in mind that we have a pivot here, and we've got a pivot here, and we've got this zone right here. Oh, that's sloppy. And we also have this zone down here. So 4,400, as we've seen numerous times, is a significant number. So the fact that we still have buyers sitting here, even in the pre-market, is pretty significant. But this run up, this is our close here. Well, respectively, it's the close. This run up back into an area of resistance with a pretty strong reject in the pre-market. We could be eating through those sellers, but what it really looks to me like is we're starting to, let's just call it this, we're starting to range out a little bit. So we need to keep that in mind, that if we break under 4,400, we would probably want to look for a bit of a retest. Let me keep this here. So looking at recent price action, this is 1 hour chart. If we break under, we would want to look for some kind of a retest lower. I don't think these tails right here are significant enough to act as possible support, but we do need to keep it in mind. I would be more concerned about 43.90, where we can see there was, couldn't break above, finally did break above here, and then at one point we resorted back to the mean, couldn't break above, and eventually did pull up higher. But this short-term uptrend looks like it's losing steam. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to pull way back and go lower again. It just potentially means we need to be a little bit more cognizant that the overall downtrend, the larger trend move, would likely prevail. Obviously the market can do whatever it wants whenever it wants, so this is all speculation. But it's just something to be cognizant of as we come potentially down. If we break and retest this 4,400 area, look to possibly go short, ideally on a trend entry. And then after that, these prior pivots here where we had, here and here where we had these strong responses, those would be areas that we might look for a bounce. We need to assume that there are still buyers down here. That being said, if we did pull all the way back down to 43.50, that would be a very significant thing. I'm not saying it would happen today, but if we continue to move lower, 43.50 is an obvious place that we would be headed, especially in lieu of this short-term uptrend kind of losing some steam. In order for this short-term uptrend to have continued to be valid, we would have had to have broken the 1 hour 200 moving average, and really well, I mean, ideally we would have wanted to see a lower high about here, and then a higher high, and then so on and so forth. But since we didn't get that, it looks like this shorter term uptrend is losing steam. So we don't want to go in with any sort of bias. We're just going to take what the market gives us, but it's important to keep in mind the facts of what the market is doing. And what the market is doing right now is actually what it's been doing, which is a lot of movement in the pre-market. And then, as we get to the open, let's just say it's here respectively, we don't know. Now when we look at the 2000 tick chart, which is what I take my entries on, you can see yesterday was a very rangy day. Let's actually keep that. Oops. Let's back it up here. So it was a tradable range, but it was still rangy. So when you look at it from the context of being in a range, just between yesterday and the pre and post market today, this situation here where we had this short-term uptrend, higher low, higher low, failure to go higher, and then a big sell-off in the pre-market. This is very similar to what happened yesterday in the pre-market. So it will be interesting to see what happens. The 200 is starting to flatten out a little bit, but all that to say, this what looks like a huge run up, a huge topping tail on the higher time frames is actually not that impressive when you factor that it barely broke above a higher area from yesterday. And this was pre-market yesterday, and this is what I was talking about. This is pre-market yesterday. See, we had this kind of run up, and we pulled down. And now that we're here, let's, dang it, keep pressing the wrong button. There we go. Let's turn the garbage back on. It doesn't look as bad when I'm zoomed in this much. So this consolidation here ended up being pretty significant yesterday, and look at that. We tested the underside of it. These are levels I've already have drawn in. The dates are over here. I did it again. Confound it. I think I'd know what buttons to hit on the keyboard by now. I've had my secret toolbox exposed where everyone could see it this whole time. How embarrassing. Anyway, so 44.1163, that was a reject yesterday, and not a half bad one twice. So I think the levels that we have are pretty good. We're going to add one for this 43.95 area just to help us keep a visual track of where this range was. Thing is, we've already kind of gone back in the range. You could say it's 44.25 by 43.95. So it's a big range, but it's still a range, right? We're not really climbing that high. We're not really descending that low. So it's just something to keep in mind here. Let's drop this so we can see. Now that's very tradable. But that being said, we need to be cognizant that if we, for example, find ourselves in some kind of an uptrend, we need to be very cognizant of the market structure within this box. So we shouldn't necessarily expect an uptrend to get all the way up here and then break out and then, go to the moon. Where's my eraser? What the heck? There it is. My goodness. Let's just clean this up. So that being said, we're going to add a level down here at 43.95 just to help us keep track of that range. But I'm not. If we get back up to 44.25, we'll look for rejection. where was low of day? I think low of day was much lower. This is the 21st, which we still hit that level just fine. So I don't know if we would get down that low, but if we did, we'd be looking for this daily level from June, which obviously the reason we still have this level here is because it was still respected. I tend not to clean up my levels as much as I should, and part of the reason I don't clean them up as often as I should is because they tend to get respected 3 months later. So I don't know. I'm gonna end up drawing it back in anyways. So realistically, it'd be looking at this range here, which means we'd be looking for a possible long play at 43.95, but the expectancy wouldn't necessarily be, a big push to the upside. A higher, so I'd consider this maybe a higher risk because we could, especially the way we're sort of downtrending right now. Let's take a look at this. The way we're kind of downtrending now. If we did get, if we did get down into this area, what's the expectancy of a bounce? Hard to say. Which is the tricky thing with all this pre-market movement that we've been having. Granted, the ES is always moving, but it seems like the best moves have been in the pre-market, to be honest. Of course, you have to be awake and stay up all night to catch it, but so 43.95 would be a higher risk situation where we might be looking for a bit of a bounce. Same thing up here, right in this area, 44.11, 44 by, what is that? 44.13, 33. Seems like a lower probability rejection because we've already bought our way through that, and so the sellers seem like they might be up here now. So it's also possible that this range has just shifted up a level, and now this is our range. But anyway, we won't really know until the market opens. But like I said, the higher probability bounce would be down here at this daily level near 43.75, because we came into it pretty hard a couple days ago and consolidated, and then actually had a pretty significant move to the upside. So there might still be buyers down here. It's possible they've moved their positions up higher, creating this range. Don't really know, but those are the main watches we'll be keeping an eye on. As always, watch the trend, pay attention to sideways action. We are in a range, and so we need to keep in mind that when we are in a range, it's easy to get whipped out. It's easy to get something that looks like a setup and then end up getting no movement. It can be a very challenging environment to trade in, so just stay safe and keep in mind. So now you can see all of this disorder here. So just keep in mind, when we're looking at the higher time frame, we were in a short-term uptrend, but the larger picture trend is down. So we need to factor that. I don't really love a bounce off of 4,400, to be honest. It could happen. It's something, it's worth watching, but it seems like we might be getting a little bit exhausted in this area. But anyways, that's all for me. I'm going to put this in my journal for the morning, and yeah, good luck, everyone.